You just click the record button. Nathan, we're just going hot.
Oh, I hope you didn't get that. That was a very ugly sound.
I think we did.
You know what? Editor Nathan doesn't edit anything on these podcasts anyway.
So that's in there. My name's Adam.
My name's Nathan.
This is the Everything Bagel.
I want a bagel.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
It has been a minute.
Been a couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah. Last week was Memorial Day.
Yep. We spaced on that.
And then something happened the week prior.
Yeah. I didn't make it for some reason, I think. Or we went to reschedule, but I couldn't make it for the reschedule or something.
Yeah. Something happened. Something came up.
And,
well, it must not have been that important.
Yeah.
Hindsight is 20/20.
Did you want to ramble on about your week? You had a pretty interesting week.
I mean, what is it? Yeah, last week I got into a car accident. That was fun.
I don't know how fun car accidents are, but
absolutely wrecked the rest of the week. Good news, new car.
Always good news.
Bad news, there's some problems with it, getting it situated with, the car's fine.
It's got some tricks.
Yep. I can do a backflip in it. That'll go on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
I have insurance for that, don't worry. But, yeah.
Adam is okay. No problem.
Oh, yeah. Physically, I'm fine. Mentally, the scars will never fade.
The scars will never fade.
But, yeah, physically, I'm fine. And, yeah, just move on.
Yeah. It's time for the humans to be talked about. This was probably my favorite deck, to where, like, I played it so much, I don't even play it that much nowadays. Because I'm just like, I know what it does.
Yeah.
I know how to get there. It does it pretty well, but not everybody likes it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be talking about that today. It is the Lord of the Rings commander, Eoromir. I think that's how you pronounce that. Shield Maiden. Or Eowyn, sorry. Eowyn.
Yeah.
Shield Maiden. And what is it? It's a 5/4 first strike. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, if another human enters the battlefield under your control, this card creates 2 human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. So we're going to be making tons of nasty humans, which, while thinking about the pod today and setting up this episode, I couldn't stop thinking about Caesar and how kind of like similar their strategies actually are.
Mm-hmm.
I still like this commander over the Caesars just because trample and haste 2/2s.
Yep.
I think you could probably make more humans though with the Caesars maybe more efficiently. I don't know. But 5 mana, Jeskai.
Yep.
And we'll run through the creatures here. The strategy is pretty simple. You're going to be wanting to play your humans every turn, and in the early stages of the game, you're probably going to want to start setting up the board with, like, depending on your starting hand, you probably want to play like a Ghostly Prison or a Propaganda to protect yourself if you don't have much to play. And then you're going to want to ramp out your commander if possible, and set up some what I call utility humans. We have a couple of those where it's like 1-drops, or like I think it's Thalia's Lieutenant is like one of them. It's not a 1-drop, but it's 2 or 3 mana.
2 mana, yeah.
2 mana. You get a 1 counter on it for every human that enters the battlefield, so you get that early on. It's gonna be have a nasty human on the battlefield all game. And there's other ones, I think, like Weathered Wayfarer. Can you hop over that one for me? It taps and searches for a library, or searches your library for a basic land if an opponent controls more lands than you.
Yeah.
And then there's another human, Champions of Perish, also does the same thing as Thalia's Lieutenant, just on a different card.
Yeah.
I think it's Fiend Hunter, maybe? It taps for a 1/1 white human.
No.
Oh, no, not that one. Which card is it? Unless I took that card out, but I'm pretty sure it's in here somewhere.
Yeah. Thraben Doomsayer.
So yeah, Doomsayer guy, he's going to be talking about stuff. He's going to be tapping to make your human so that you can guarantee your commander trigger every turn. And then this deck really pops off, I would say, in like the mid game.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to start playing your humans like Combat Celebrant and Riders of the Mark, just dumping either humans or getting extra combats, which will trigger your commander again for even more humans. And if you have those cards out, like Shared Animosity, out early, then you're just going to be attacking and doing massive damage and just winning almost off of damage alone out of that. But if you have some, good life gain decks at your table, then you're probably going to need some more tokens, or you're probably just going to win the game with cards like Chroma's Memorial. That'll do it.
That'll do, Pig.
That'll do a lot. And if you're having problems with like finding any of like the key strategy pieces, that's why I throw in those tutors, man.
Yeah.
Idyllic Tutors in there. I want to get an Enlightened Tutor for the deck.
Yeah.
Still isn't in there. Kind of a travesty.
Yeah.
So I've been kind of rambling. Do you have any thoughts?
I know you talked a little bit about the smaller creatures that you like to see.
Yeah.
In your opening hand, because, right, Erwin's trigger is off of humans played. So early game, are you just more excited to see some ramp pieces to get to Erwin faster, or would you just like a full grip of humans so that way when you do get to Erwin, you're just windmill slamming those out there, so every turn you can always make those 2 humans, and then eventually, right, you'll get to 6, and you'll be drawing that extra card every turn.
I will say, in most cases, you'll probably want some humans in your hand. But it is exciting. I've gotten Erwin out on turn 2 because of ramp, and it's just like exciting because you'll probably have 1 human in your hand, at least 2. If you have a ramp, some mana, and a human, that's like gold. Yeah. You want it all. Yeah. But ideally, you probably just want some humans and some mana. Yeah. If you're getting a little greedy, if you're just getting, I would say if you're just trying to gas your commander out fast, it's great. But I think it thrives better if you have more humans to get the card draw benefit off the commander. And then you can start using cards like Mass Appeal, which will benefit for having more humans on the battlefield anyway.
And we talked a little bit about. I see Gilded Lotus in the.
I know.
I'm gonna dog on Gilded Lotus at every instance. Gilded Lotus isn't ramp. It's not.
It's shameful ramp.
It's not ramp.
Maybe for like Dragon.
If your commander is over 10 mana, I'll give you Gilded Lotus as ramp. Gilded Lotus isn't ramp in any other context.
You're not wrong, and it's one of those things where it's like, now I'm starting to cut the 3 mana artifact ramp. Yeah. It's like I can't believe I even have the command sphere in there now. Yeah. Right? Yeah. It's like I could definitely use another talisman instead of that because I'm missing Talisman of Creativity in there. But it's one of those things where it's not perfect, but man, oh man, it's getting close. To me, it's almost my near perfect baby. And that's what I wanted this deck to be. Yeah. From the get go.
Yeah, this was your ball out deck. Yeah.
And Dragon's probably gonna get there too.
Dragon's gonna get there. We're not talking about dragons. We'll give dragons their own time. Yeah. What is it? I know you talked about tutor package. Yeah. And I see Idyllic Tutor in here. We mentioned Enlightened Tutor. Are there any other tutors that you might be looking for? I know, right? Red Tutor Gamble. Yeah. It's a risky tutor, but it's still a tutor. And I see you have cards like Visions of Glory in here with flashback. So even if you did, tutor up or gamble for Visions of Glory and it hits the bin, you're not too worried about it.
Yeah.
Have you considered cards like Gamble and Mystical Tutor?
Mystic Tutor's in there. Gamble.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, you were just hovering over it, actually.
Oh, I'm blind.
That's why I thought you were like, I thought you were kind of playing dumb and trying to hand me a softball there.
No, I'll read it. I'll read your cards eventually.
But yeah, no, Gamble would be something that I wouldn't mind being put in, just because I have like 3 cards that I think have flashback, and 2 of them are token producer cards. It'd be a very like, I need this card to do other things, and I don't know. That's kind of a dangerous area to be in, I think, when construction decks, because you want a thing for another thing that does a thing, almost kind of like a combo piece, right?
Yeah.
So they're important. Try and get the most out of the 99.
Yeah.
Impact Tremors, another early card that if you can get that one out early, doing chip damage to everybody is just great. Getting those tokens out, doing, I think it's 2 damage to every opponent, or 1
damage.
1 damage.
1 damage.
You're doing at least 3 damage every turn, playing your human, getting 2.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Free lightning bolt on everyone.
Yeah, free lightning bolt on everybody, and then most likely, because it's a super aggro play style, you're just gonna be turning those tokens sideways every turn anyway, and it's like whatever stays on the battlefield is just pure profit.
Yeah. What is it? I'm a big proponent of having and knowing your closers, right? What you're looking for to end the game.
For sure.
What are you looking for? What haymakers do you have tucked away in this deck that you know that unless it gets answered before your next turn, you might just run away with this game?
There's definitely a Chroma's Memorial that I love for that reason. Then I think Shared Animosity might be there, depending on what's on the board. But even then, I'm not the smartest when it comes to the math of it. But I've heard people who do the math for me at the tables. They're like, "Yo, dude, this is nasty. You probably just swing like 4 of these over here and kill that guy." Yeah, it gets ridiculously big. They're closers. Honestly, it's strict combat damage. So like maybe Combat Celebrant, Aggravated Assault's a little bit more pricey. That does the same thing.
But it's very repeatable.
Right. Because you don't just exert it once. You can just pay for it endlessly. Dump the mana into there.
Get to 10 mana, get 4 red mana, take 3 combat steps in turn, and then you're smart enough to play Cruel Celebrant and exert it on the last one to get your 5th combat, your 4th combat step in.
It's just extra combats. Send it. Yeah. So far. And it's like probably 2 or 3 cards that do like that send it into the end game like that. Yeah. And I think Chroma's Memorial is the only 7 mana card for that reason that's in the deck. Yeah. Because it just goes in everything. One thing I would love to take out those. We talked about a little bit about editing this deck even more. And committing to just the aggressive playstyle and cutting the Ghostly Prison and Propaganda out. It would probably actually help this deck more than it's going to hurt it, I think.
Well, I'm reviewing the deck and sitting over here, and I see Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, and I know we talked about it real quick, that, crossing the battlefield with those creatures, and I'm noticing a distinct lack of haste enablers over here.
Yeah. So Anger.
What is it? Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves.
Those are great.
What is it? New one, Lava Spur Boots.
Oh yeah, I forgot Outlaws.
Haste and Ward 1 with +1/+0. And I want to say Lava Spur Boots is the only one with a cost associated with equipping it. Swiftfoot Boots and Lightning Greaves just equip for free.
I think Swiftfoot does it for 1.
Okay. I can't remember off the top of my head. Then
You're good.
maybe get those bad lads in there.
Yeah, and they were in there. I just thought for some reason I even had Skull Clamp in there at one point because I had so many 1/1s instead of 2/2s. But yeah, the decks just go crazy. It's very susceptible to board wipes. There's only one board wipe in the entire deck because I'm just committed to the aggressive attacks. One issue I do see sometimes, depending on what's on the battlefield that you can get, killing all 3 other players.
Yeah.
That's like a struggle with, I guess, some of my decks in general. Just doing 120 damage.
Yeah.
But cards with like Impact Tremors and stuff like that, hopefully.
Yep, they make it a little easier for you.
Yeah. And just trying to get those numbers up with like Shared Animosity.
Yeah. Some general Anthem effects.
Yes. Tons and tons of Anthem effects in this deck. That's probably most of the pre-con cards that I left in there were the Anthem effects guys, because you want those tokens that have Menace.
Yeah.
First Strike. And
Trample.
Trample already comes on there.
Oh yeah, that's right. Every time we talk about our creature decks, I always say like, hey, you got Trample, you got Haste.
Oh yeah.
And every time it's baked into the tokens. That's why it's nowhere else in the deck.
And I think the deck could use more interaction or answers, we call them. And I play a lot of those defensively just so that nobody can remove the commander.
Yeah.
I wish it had a better, like, any ward effect on it, but I get that it's a nasty card already. But that's why it has, I think, only like 9 removals, maybe.
Yeah.
At that. So I'll probably get that up to like 11.
Yeah.
Maybe, depending on the cards I have to take out, because besides the Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, I want to take out the Gilded Lotus, the Command Sphere, and I can probably put those 2 in.
Yeah.
And probably, I don't know, the mana is so good. I think it's like is it 50 mana sources, or how many sources?
Mana sources, you got 36 lands and 12 artifacts. One of those 12 artifacts is not a mana producer, so that's what, 47? 47. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
47 is pretty solid. Sometimes you'll run into a flooded problem here or there. Picking up a land on a turn you want the finisher.
Yeah.
Can be devastating, but hopefully those tutors will help you out in that.
Yeah.
And when I link the deck to the podcast and you guys want to check it out, the price is not what the price is, because the arts and the versions of the cards that are on it are accurate. It's just so you guys get the effect and you guys understand what we're trying to do here. And the deck's probably going to be updated too. Mm-hmm. So keep an eye out on that, I guess.
Yeah.
And I believe we also got Adam's deck linked in the last episode from a couple weeks back.
I think I eventually got that to you, yeah.
Yeah, so check out the Mirrors deck too. Very fun stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of subtle card draw in this deck. That's why I guess I'm not very... Like, the commander gives me enough card draw on top of the mass appeal, and I'm trying to think of other cards that draw me cards casually, but I think it's just the commander that draws me my card. There's some Monarch stuff. Gives me a second card at that. So, Ristic Study. Totally forgot I threw that boy in there. So, if you have Ristic Study out, you're paying to give me cards. Or to not give me cards, I should say, because it's 2 mana. Give me some cards. Then you got some great creatures, like Boromir, Gondor's Hope. I think when he attacks, you get to, like, look at top 5 or 6 cards. Top 6 cards, which is great.
For a human or an artifact, and...
I'll take I'm going to look at that card. Oh, Chromos Memorial, I'll keep that.
Yeah, I'll take that one.
Just great cards.
God, yeah, there's just so many generic good humans.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure if people will really fight me on the more board wipes argument. I'm not a big board wipe type guy. Yeah. I'm more of just like board wipe me.
Well, so I will say you are in a unique position in Jeskai to have a combat heavy deck with access to cards like, oh god, I want to say it's like Whelming Wave, but Cyclonic Rift effects.
Yeah, right.
Not necessarily board wipes, but everyone else has to pick up all their junk, which could leave you in a
finisher position.
Yeah, it could just be enough, right? Everyone has 3 or 4 creatures, and you might have 7 or 8, but you just can't attack anyone.
Yeah,
because everyone has enough stuff to prevent you from wanting to attack, and then you just cast some form of Cyclonic Rift effect.
Yep.
And force everyone to pick up all their junk, and then you're free to get in.
Yep.
That's something I quite literally just thought about, the fact that it's like Cyclonic Rift is the one that gets the recognition, but there are more versions of Cyclonic Rift. I want to say Ixalan, the original Ixalan set, had like a 6 mana, each opponent returns all of their permanents to their hand. Or all of their non-land permanents to their hand, which kind of falls in a similar vein to like Aragorn, King of Gondor, right? He needs to be attacking.
Yeah.
But you have Monarch. Guess what? No one's blocking my junk, right?
Yep. I think that's why I put Cloud Shift in there, just in case I had like another card. I think. Palace Jail.
Yep, Palace Jailer.
I think he gives you Monarch. Nobody else's Monarch.
He gives you. Yeah, he gives you. He enters the battlefield. Exile is a thing until you're no longer the Monarch.
Yeah, and so, what is it? I wanted to do. I think Aragorn is his own deck.
Yep.
But you could definitely come out of nowhere and be like, okay, now everything's unblockable. Yeah. Sneak in with that, and I guess in his own right, if you get him to get haste, he is a finisher.
Yeah, yeah.
And he could just be, and I mean, I think that's why Rogue's Passage was in there for a period of time. I'm not sure if it's still in there.
Yeah.
You can kind of utilize the commander for that. Just do some extra poke damage. 5/4 first strike's pretty nasty in its own right.
It's also fly. Oh no, it is just first strike. I keep thinking whenever I look at Erwin's art, I'm just like, those are wings.
That's fair. Flying, doing like a double backflip spin.
Yeah.
Kill something.
Those are wings. It's not a cape. She has flying.
There was one enchantment or artifact that just gives everything flying. It's like levitation.
Okay.
And it gives, I think, just gives all creatures flying.
Oh, God.
And it's like, I'm not sure if it's worth dedicating the whole enchantment to this deck. But it would solve such a big problem with this deck, because flying is the biggest evasion piece.
It's the easiest evasion. I would almost say it's the best evasion.
Yeah.
I think Menace is up there.
Well, so going back to like finishers and stuff like that, Odric, Lunarch, Marshall, he's basically a chroma on a creature. Yeah. So whenever you're gonna have those tokens with haste and trample, give all your creatures haste and trample.
Yeah.
And with anything else, your commander's gonna be out first strike, so everything has first strike, haste and trample. Then with your anthem effects, menace on top of that, it just gets nastier. Odric ties I think I have both Odrics in there actually. He's just a great human. And if you guys end up getting this kind of deck, I eventually plan on getting the Rick Steadfast Leader.
Yeah.
Eventually for this. I forget the original card's name. It's more harder to pronounce.
Yeah.
I can remember Rick's rustic face. Okay, that was...
Yeah?
Yeah. What else? There... Honestly... That's like this deck in a nutshell. There isn't... It's a very simple deck with a lot of redundancy.
Yeah, there's some counter spells, there's some removal spells, but at the end of the day, get in the red zone, turn those creatures sideways.
That's what it's about. And honestly, this deck set the tone for how I play Magic, I think, in general, because it's such an aggro deck. You say time and time again, I'm kind of an aggro player.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes sense, because the elves kind of just do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. I think aggro is a very good place to just be.
Yeah. Be the problem.
Yeah. Because, what is it? Control ends up pretty boring.
Yeah, it can
sometimes.
Yeah. I think control's fine depending on how you play it. I think you got to play control defensively. That's how I feel about it. But I mean, because don't counter everything, but counter the things that affect you. I guess that's better than just.
But even then, I would say counter Magic is very hard to do because a problem that most players have. I don't think it's a new versus old. I think it's a thoughtful versus unthoughtful. I think that's a better way of putting it. Where someone says, you got your counter spell in hand, and it's even more difficult at a table with 4 people. Because not only are you trying to counter everything the person across from you is doing, you're trying to counter 2 more people's worth of junk.
Yeah.
So if you rip your got your spell pierce in hand, and your opponent they cast their whatever, like even a soul ring, right?
Yeah.
Turn 1, you play your island, your opponent goes to play turn 1 soul ring, and you can take that in your head. You can be like, I could hold up this soul ring, or I could hold up this spell pierce, or I could counter this soul ring, and in 5 turns, you countered their soul ring, but 5 turns go by and someone's like, I'm gonna cast Armageddon.
Yeah.
And it's like you could have not whipped that.
Be more patient.
Or even worse would be is that person plays the soul ring, goes to play the soul ring, and then they wait 4 turns and they look you dead in the eye, and they they cast Sinkhole on your land or whatever, and it's like. It's target assessment.
And that can be so difficult sometimes.
It can be. And that's why I think aggro and mid-range, specifically removal-based mid-range, not really control-based mid-range, can just be easier and more fun. Right?
Yeah.
Because there's less things to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not worried about what's in anyone's hand. You're worried about what's on the, what you can see.
Yeah. And if something gets countered, it's really not that big of an issue unless, honestly, even if a Chroma got shut out, it's like, okay, I have Odric, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much redundancy that if something does get removed, it's like there's something somewhere that does that.
Yeah.
And that's honestly just that's the place you want to be with your decks. You want all that good stuff multiple times over. And honestly, I didn't think that a Chroma on something else even really. I mean, you can throw a Chroma's Will in here, which is the same thing, right?
Just probably an instant.
Yeah.
So you get it for a turn.
And that's nice. You could throw that in here for another finisher if you wanted to. But then, I don't know, how many finishers are too many?
It depends.
Is there enough? Are there too many?
Well, not to go off too hard, but the deck that I'm currently building is green-black Chevelle. I'm just like rock, just a ton of removal, a little bit of cheap ramp and a little bit of expensive ramp to try and bridge me into the actual game plan, battle cruiser. I just want to windmill slam heavy, hard to remove creatures into play. And at that point, I got something like, I want to say the numbers were wild, because the average converted mana cost on cards was 4.5. Because I had some, I had cards up to 15 mana.
Wow.
And I'm just trying to cast those spells raw. I'm not trying to cheat them into play.
Wow. So ramping a lot of the time.
So ramping real hard.
You need every green ramp card.
Yeah.
15 mana. Oh, geez. No Eldrazi too, huh?
Yeah. They all have some form of evasion. They all enter the battlefield and do something.
Hopefully uncounterable.
Yeah. That was a little harder to do because, like, Carnage Tyrant comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, like, a $6, $7 card, and I was trying to limit myself to a sticker price of less than $50.
Yeah.
Shipping and handling and all that junk. You know, go to TCG Player and you know, get 11 packages, and since one package has 50 cards, and then, you know, there's 10 other packages with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
They all cost like 10 cents a piece, so I'm spending like $1.50 on shipping. It's like, but in that deck, right, I wouldn't really call any. I didn't label anything a finisher.
Yeah.
Because I just have 10 plus haymakers that
They can all do the job.
Yeah. It just depends on whether or not I'm going to do the job with 3 creatures in play or 1 creature in play. It's just going to come across the board, and no one's going to be able to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. Just raw combat damage.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love it. And that, I mean, aggro is my favorite play style, just because, you know, I mean, if you're pissing anybody off, it's in like the most. It's probably in the best way.
Yeah, no.
It's fair.
If you're getting mad at someone killing you with aggro,
Probably just need a faster deck or something. Counter more stuff.
build a better deck.
Build a better deck. Or choose a different deck.
When everyone starts Magic the Gathering, they always learn. They learn the first and most basic way of killing your opponent, and that is through combat damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would imagine there might be some instances of someone learning through combo. Whoever your friends are, find new ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever taught you how to play Magic, find new friends. So you should be able to protect yourself from combat damage.
Yeah. You have a creature to block with.
Have a creature to block with. Pillow fort yourself up. There's plenty of ways to go about preventing yourself from dying from combat damage.
Now, you just
targeting, you know, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But maybe there are other problems than the game of Magic, right?
Yeah. You just gotta figure out what problems are your problems and find those answers in the form of usual removal.
Yeah.
Typically.
Board wipe tribal, here it comes. Next deck.
Fun. What do they call it? Chaos or not even chaos?
No, it'll just be 40 board wipes. And then creatures with indestructible. So that way I can cast board wipes
consistently enough
every turn.
And just get damaging.
Yeah. It'll have to be like blue-white.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Psychotic Rift. Here we go.
Yeah. Blue-white, board-wipe tribal. You know Armageddon is going in that deck.
Yeah.
It's not even like, I don't want to do it. You don't want to receive it. I don't want to give it. Armageddon's in the deck. It'll be the race to 4 mana.
Yeah. Wait. Why 4?
So I can cast Armageddon.
Yeah, is that just it? Yeah. Or whoever wins the dice roll.
Yeah. and then so I'll play Armageddon in Pact of Negation, so I can cast Armageddon, blow up all the lands, and then if you try and counter it, I'll cast Pact of Negation and die on my next turn. It's a suicide pact.
God.
Yeah.
Is that the one where it's like counter the spell and then pay 5 of your upkeep or lose the game?
Yep.
I have one and I saw that. I was like, is it worth putting it in a deck?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm like, you're committing 5 mana or something like that. 4 mana.
Would you rather lose the game or have to spend 5 mana on your next turn?
I don't want to do either of those things. That's why I'm like, is the counter spell worth it or just find classic counter spell somewhere?
But then you have to hold up 2 mana.
True.
All I'm saying is, would you rather spend 5 mana? Or would you rather,
I mean, yeah.
would you rather lose, We're all about winning here.
True.
Winning's all that matters.
It's like it's gonna only cost you 5 mana instead of the whole game.
Yeah.
That's fair. Man, I feel like we ran through this fast because of just simplicity of it all.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to talk about specifically when you get into tribal decks.
Yeah. Because it's just go wide, go home.
Yeah. I will say, looking at it, I think you're on the low end of creature count, which is a wild thing to say with 30. So you could probably like get that number up, but all I could say is like you got 47 mana sources. You could probably go down to like 45 and still feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. You brought it up that you flood out.
Yeah.
So maybe take out a few lands. One of each basic. That gives you 3 extra slots. That takes you up to 33 creatures.
I've learned that I'd rather be flooded than hosed. Or just empty, no man. I'd rather be flooded personally. I know it's probably not the popular...
Well, I will say, screw beats flood every time. I mean, not every time, but screw beats flood generally, right?
I see what you're saying, because you're playing more impactful cards, right?
So the problem with flood is you have no gas.
Yeah.
Or you have all of the... Yeah, you have no gas. You just... Sorry, I gotta retool this metaphor. You have all of the gas but no car to drive.
Yeah.
And when you're screwed, you have a car that you can drive. You're just waiting to get that gas.
Yeah. And it's going to come eventually, right?
And you can only get it, you can only add so much gas so fast, right? You can only fill up the tank so fast.
Yeah. So
you could either spend 4 turns staring, playing a land and not doing anything, or you could spend 4 turns drawing lands and casting spells, and you can only play one at a time, so you just get there. But I get what you mean, because not having mana blows.
It really does.
There's a difference between being screwed for like 2 turns and being screwed for like 8. Being flooded out for 8 turns, people just feel sad for you. Being screwed for 8 turns, the game is over. You're just not playing anymore.
Unless you have a win card that you just pull out of nowhere, I guess. But even then, they have, like, conditions.
Well, even then, everyone else has built their board.
Oh, yeah, they probably have something.
Right? So, like, your I win button gets countered 3 times over.
So true. Solid.
If that's everything from you.
That's everything from me. The deck's solid. Give it a look-sees.
Yeah. This is Adam Nathan signing off.
Signing out.
Wherever you are, whatever time of day it is, just remember, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And don't forget, just try everything. How bad can it be?